everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, hi, my name is Kelsey. If you are not new, I truly appreciate you coming back. I have been gone off of YouTube. I went to San Diego and I was only supposed to be gone for 4 days, so I didn't bring any of my YouTube equipment or anything to film. I ended up extending my trip by a week and a half. So I was gone for a really long time, but I am happy to be back. I have some new equipment here. I am trying out a new microphone and a new tripod. So I'm figuring out where I want to position myself. I feel like this might be a little bit close, but we're just kind of going to go with it, see how I feel, and we can always adjust in the next one. So it's going to be a little bit of trial and error, but we are back. I am very excited to be here with you guys today. And I'm really, really excited to talk about today's case. So today's case fascinated me as soon as I heard about it. This is a murder case that was brought to justice in the most unheard of way, with the victim testifying at her own murder trial. This case is a story of how strong the human will can be and the strength and perseverance of one woman, Judy Malinowski. I really highly encourage you to watch this video all the way through because it really is a fascinating case from beginning to end. So without further ado, let's talk about today's case. Judy Malinowski was born on August 26, 1983. She grew up in a suburb of Ohio and she really had that idyllic life growing up. She had one brother and one sister with a really great family life. She was a former homecoming queen and it seemed like she was just as beautiful of a person on the inside as she was on the outside. As picture perfect as her life looked though, at a young age, Judy had gotten diagnosed with ovarian cancer. She had beat this cancer once, but in 2006, when Judy was only 23 years old, it had returned. And once the cancer returned for a second time, she decided to just get a full hysterectomy. A hysterectomy is a surgery that removes the entire uterus, making her unable to have any more children. We really don't know much about Judy's life, but we do know at this point in her life she did have 2 daughters, Kelseyyellenn and Madison. After the cancer and the hysterectomy, Judy unfortunately did become addicted to painkillers, which is just a story that you hear too many times and it never gets easier to swallow. Stories like this really just break my heart because it's like you need the pills and then you come to become dependent and it's this vicious cycle that seems to be never ending. Jumping ahead to April of 2015, Judy received a social media message from 40-year-old Michael Slager. After that message, her and Michael started to date and became inseparable. Judy was newly divorced from the father of her children, and she had gotten clean from the prescription drugs that had ruled her life. Her life really looked like it was starting to turn a corner, and she was really starting to do well. Her friends and family said that she was finally getting on her feet, but everything changed when Michael entered the picture. Michael and Judy's relationship was rocky at best. Judy's mother, Bonnie, recalls Judy calling her multiple times, trying to get away from Michael and begging her mom to call the authorities. Another wonderful thing that Michael was doing was getting Judy addicted to painkillers again, even though he wasn't taking any of the painkillers himself. Eventually, Judy's insurance ran out and she could no longer afford the medication that she had become so dependent on. Which, like I said, the medical system has so many flaws, but honestly, getting people addicted and then cutting them off has got to be one of the biggest ones. But now Judy, she wasn't able to feed her addiction the legal way, and Michael had introduced her to heroin. He became the one that would have to go out and get basically the drugs that she needed. Judy had expressed multiple times that she wanted to get clean, but Michael would just keep providing her with the drugs. In August of 2015, Judy had finally had enough and wanted to go to rehab. And on August 2nd of 2015, Michael was driving Judy to a rehab facility when they stopped at a gas station in Columbus, Ohio. Judy and Michael were arguing and they were both outside when Judy threw a styrofoam cup of soda on Michael. His reaction to this was horrific. Michael walks over to his truck and he grabs 2 cans of gasoline. Judy is sitting on the grass and he proceeds to douse her from head to toe, even getting some of the gasoline in her throat. He then calmly walks back to his car, retrieves a lighter, and throws it on her. Her body is engulfed in just seconds while Michael is standing by watching. In the video taken from an ATM machine across the street, you can see Judy rolling on the grass, trying her best to extinguish the fire on her body. An onlooker had seen what was happening and she called 911. She was completely frantic while on the phone with dispatch. Here is that 911 call.
Okay, stop screaming because I can't understand you. I got you.
When police and paramedics arrived, Judy was immediately taken to the hospital. She was not expected to survive her injuries. One of the nurses from the burn ward that Judy was in said that they have an equation for mortality. This is based on the person's age and the percentage burned. In Judy's case, she was 31 years old and 90% burned. This made her mortality percentage 110%. At the scene, police were talking to Michael, asking him what happened, but he tried to make it sound like an accident. He said that Judy was sitting on the grass and asked him for a cigarette. He then claims that when he bent down to light it for her, her entire body ignited.
I didn't think I got, there was that, realized it was going to be that.
Sure.
So I walked over to give her a light. That was it.
And then she just...
And when she went up, I couldn't believe it. I just didn't think that it was going to be like that.
Yeah. Okay, I don't believe that. I feel like having your whole body engulfed in flames is not a common warning label for cigarettes. I might be wrong. I haven't bought cigarettes in my entire life, but I feel like that's not a disclaimer on the box. Michael's claims, they were very easy to disprove because of the ATM footage that they have and the eyewitness accounts that saw the entire thing. Not only did this idiot choose a public location to light his girlfriend on fire, he also chose to do this midday in the broad daylight. When police were starting to realize that this was clearly no accident, they ran a background check on Michael. And what they found shocked Judy and her family. He had a lengthy criminal past, with charges ranging from theft and stalking to child endangerment and domestic assault, which is crazy that he got away with hiding that part of his life for so long. And here's Judy just lying in a hospital bed fighting to survive. At this point, the assistant prosecutor was sadly just waiting for Judy to die so that they could charge Michael with her murder. But Judy fought to live, and she fought hard. She survived for 23 months after the attack, including 7 resuscitations, 50 agonizing surgeries, including so many skin grafts from 10% of her body that wasn't burned, and a lot of them failed. Prosecutors knew that since Judy was still fighting for her life, they could not charge Michael with her murder because she was still alive. Since they couldn't charge him with a full charge of murder, they knew that his sentence probably wouldn't be as harsh as they would like. So they had an idea. They knew that Judy was eventually going to pass, and they wanted to record her version of what happened that day. They wanted her to testify at her own murder trial. This was the first time that this had ever been done in Ohio and had only been done a handful of times throughout the United States. Judy was going to record her deposition from the hospital bed. For her to be able to testify, though, she had to be lucid on a very small dose of the pain medication that was keeping her comfortable. So they woke Judy up out of the medically induced coma that they had put her in to try and recover pain-free. And when they woke her up, they kept her on a very low dose of the pain meds until the deposition was finished. I cannot believe how strong Judy had to be to endure this kind of pain. I get a small burn on my hand, and it hurts anytime you get air, water, anything. And having this on 90% of your body, I can't even imagine that kind of just torturous pain that you constantly feel. She also had to endure all of this kind of pain while talking about the most traumatic physical and emotional pain a person could possibly ever go through. When the detective went into Judy's room to start asking her questions, he said that he had, quote, never seen trauma like that to a human body that wasn't deceased. He recalled talking to her, and she didn't have any ears to hear. He didn't know if she could even hear him. As she laid in her bed, she strained to speak and barely spoke above a whisper, but she was fierce in her conviction to describe her own murder in detail to help prosecute Michael Slager.
Okay. Thank you. Judy, let's talk about the moment that you were set on fire. Did you have a cigarette?
No.
Did you ask for a light?
No.
Did you make up with Michael in any way?
No.
And when he approached you with the lighter, what did he look like?
Like Satan's child.
Did he appear to be angry or like compassionate, like he was making up with you?
He appeared to be full of rage and yet calm at the same time.
Was his approaching you with that lighter accidental? Did he trip or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Judy, tell me how that moment felt when you were ignited.
It felt horrible. I don't think words can describe what it feels like to have your whole body's on fire. I can remember the fire out of my face and eyes. I can remember screaming for help. I can remember looking over and seeing him just standing there staring at me with the look in his face that was just, like I keep saying over and over again, pure evil. Like, there's no other words to describe it. My whole body felt like the worst burn you could ever feel in your life.
Okay.
And it stung, and it was like 1,000 needles going in, 1,000 hot needles penetrating my body. I guess that's the best way I can explain it. And I just remember, like I said, begging him to help, pleading for any help, trying to get the fire off of my face, eventually burying my face in the grass and looking around. And then I got to the point where I couldn't see anything and everybody's voices were sounding far away. I could tell there was definitely somebody around, but I couldn't hear him or make it out. I thought for sure I was dying. I just prayed to Jesus to please forgive me for my sins and to take care of my children, and that was it. I blacked out and I don't remember anything until I woke up in the hospital.
While Judy was being cross-examined, Slager's attorneys really tried to link into that drug addiction that she had. But Judy quickly reminded him that Michael was the one that got her hooked on heroin. He bought the drugs for her, and he would threaten her life. For Judy, being in such an extremely fragile state during this entire deposition, she really held her own and made sure his attorneys knew that she was not going to be pushed around. And Michael had done this to her once, and she wasn't going to let them do this to her a second time. Meanwhile, Michael, he was only getting charged with aggravated arson and felonious assault. To these charges, he pleaded no contest when he heard that there was a possibility of Judy testifying via video. Him and his attorney agreed that Judy's testimony would probably lead the jurors to hate him. And I mean, that's the hope. The judge in this case sentenced him to the maximum penalty under Ohio law, only 11 years. When the judge was sentencing Michael, she said that she wished she could sentence him even longer, stating, "You really do seem like one of those people that have no soul, and you need to be incarcerated. That's all I have to say." Judy and her family were devastated by the light sentence they felt that Michael got. To this, though, Judy responded by fighting for Ohio state law to change. She wanted to increase the sentences for attackers who leave their victims permanently disfigured. While in an unbelievable amount of pain, Judy never stopped fighting to not only live, but to change the world. The nurses who worked with Judy said that they were constantly impressed with Judy's spirit and her will to help others. Judy recorded her deposition in early 2017. And less than 5 months later, on June 27th, she had succumbed to her injuries and passed away holding her mom Bonnie's hand. As sad as this was, now Michael, he could be charged with murder. At this trial, Judy's deposition would finally be heard, and it was like she was testifying from the grave at her own murder trial. And then in July of 2018, he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to life in prison. Judy had made it clear that she didn't want him to be sentenced to death. She was hoping that he would find religion in prison and basically turn a new leaf in his life. The legacy that Judy was leaving behind was Judy's law. She saw it get passed in May of 2017, just a month before she would pass. And in September, the same week as her funeral, it would get signed and become an official law. She changed the way that people who disfigured their victims would get prosecuted. Unfortunately, though, the law would not be retroactive, so it wouldn't be able to be applied to Judy's case. But the number of lives that this law has affected going forward would be incredible. She was an incredibly strong-willed and spirited person who held on long enough to see a little bit of justice in her own murder trial. This case is crazy to me. Again, the fact that she basically testified from the grave at her own trial was incredible thinking on the prosecution's part. They weren't satisfied with the sentence, so they changed it. And that is an incredible legacy for Judy to leave behind for her 2 daughters, and just a beautiful way for her to leave this world on a peaceful note. I know that this case was shorter today. I do hope that you enjoyed it. I truly found this fascinating as soon as I heard about it, because I just think thinking on the prosecution's part, Judy, just her strength fascinated me. And this, from the level of horrific human behavior of setting someone you love on fire, to the incredible strong will of a person to fight to change something that wasn't right in their eyes. And I believe Judy Malinowski left a beautiful legacy on this world, and I think that her spirit will live on through her children. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's case. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Suggest other cases if you have any to suggest in the comments down below, and I will see you in my next video.